Hello and welcome to the Natural Wonders DVD series. This is the first part in the series, so what we're going to do a simple silhouette for you. So for the first process I need to use some black gesso. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a 1 1/4 inch brush. And gesso is an acrylic based primer. So all I want to do is just put a small area in, just down there where we can create something like a little path or something coming into the foreground, and then slightly higher just on the edges. Just want it slightly higher, not a lot, just so that it gives you that feeling that you want to go through like a little pathway. It's always a good idea to raise these bits on the edge a tiny bit, and then once you've blocked it in below, I'm just going to make it look a little bit like some grass, just to give you a few little tips and ways that you can do it with oils as well. Now with that I can just actually just touch up a little bit, just make it look like little bits of grass. We're going to cover all this up, but it's good practice at this stage just to try and do it. If you come up too much you'll look really unnatural. You can make them look a bit longer, but there's a fine line, see what I mean? There's a fine line to doing it too much and not enough. What I like to do is I like to have it generally flat, and then now and again put a few little clumps, showing. There. Twist a few at angles. See that? As though the wind's blowing it. Bit of wind there, just blowing them, just at an angle. Cover all this up though, like I say, but it's just good practice. I've done this before with oils plenty of times. You know, it's like you spend days just doing them with a little liner brush or something. Right, and then all I'm going to do, I'm just pull that same colour and tap with the brush, because I want to indicate a big tree that I'm going to have in this painting. And by putting this dark in first, when we come to putting the dark on for the real painting, we won't have no problem, because this will be underneath the liquid white, so it'll stay dark without having to put that much paint on. Because if you get too much paint on your darks here, and you have to put too much on to get it looking dark, it means it's harder to highlight then. So by doing this and just putting a few little indications of trees in first with the dark acrylic, what that does, it just makes your life a lot easier later on in the painting. Like I say, I will be actually going over this, so I'm just at the moment working out what's where, to give myself an indication. And then underneath that I'm going to have a huge bush just in there, just so you can see background underneath it all. And then more or less just block that in a bit. Just on the corner. Like I say, it's going to be a silhouette scene is this, so the majority of it's going to be actually covered up and stuff with these lovely silhouette bushes. Sort of place where you'd want to spend a romantic evening, chilling out in this bit grass, looking up at sunset. Very romantic. I'm a big softie when it comes to that. Right, and then at this side, I just want to indicate another little tree. Now, maybe it's going to come about just there. So I'm just using the corner of the brush. Sometimes I use the full extent of it, but for this I'm just using the corner. Gives you a bit more control. That's it, because there's a particular shape to this tree I want you to get right. Block it in the centre so it's just dark. As I say, this is acrylic, so we'll let this dry. We'll let it dry completely, and then come back over this with oils once you've done a sky, because obviously liquid white, which we're going to put on the sky, will cover this up slightly, but it'll still make it a lot easier for us later in the painting. You will see why, especially if you try this. It'll just happen for you then without any worries. A fresh bit of paint. Just want a little hangy down type branch there. A few little brushes underneath that. Maybe just a little tiny brush just there. Just a little indication of something. Don't want to kill all that grass, you see. There. Something that'll look like it's in the background a bit. You see, when you put liquid white over these, you can choose sometimes to push some of them in the background and some of them in the foreground. So I put them in like this for the ones in the foreground, and then if I want a few in the background, I just tap a lot more gentle. And the brush is starting to run out of paint as well. And that'll just put you some little indications that are way off in the background there. You might not even see them, but I should think you will just see them through the liquid white. Even up in here, make it look like there's something going on. Nice, and then we're trained as eye towards this area where we're going to have a lovely background and stuff. That's it for the gesso, so we'll get on with the oil painting. Right, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put some linseed oil just over the black gesso area first. You can use liquid clear as well, which is another medium that's good for this, but you really don't need a lot. Just a tiny bit, just make it look shiny. Just a little bit up in there. See, that's going to be covered with liquid white anyway. Liquid white is a mixture of titanium white, linseed oil and paint thinner. So you can actually mix it up yourself, but it's more expensive to do that than it is to actually buy the stuff. So you can get it at any general art store. And it just gives a little sheen. Because we're working wet on wet, you need to be able to have the paint slipping and sliding over the surface of the canvas. And by using this linseed oil, it just allows that to happen. Now, I just want to have a little chat with you all as well about canvases. Now, when you buy a canvas, obviously you want to get a bargain, I always do. So I'll be searching for canvases that are cheap, and when you do that, it's all good. You can still use them, no problem. But I always advise that you prime them. So what you do is you buy something like a silk emulsion, and then just prime it with a thin coat of that. You can even mix it with a little bit of white, and just prime it with that, and that'll be perfect. It'll keep the liquid white wet on here, because if the liquid white is allowed to go dry, if it's a porous canvas, it'll dry up the liquid white and it won't blend on there properly. So I've been mixing it with my knife. So I'm just going to use the sided knife. Get rid of that. Just put my knife down there now, out of the way. You can get very messy with this liquid white if you're not careful. So I've developed a way that I actually flatten the paint out first. I always just flatten the paint out. And then I'll start actually blending it on the canvas. It's important you get enough liquid white, but you don't want to smear it everywhere and get too much. So it's a fine balance between having too much and too little. So a few little measures that we take to ensure that you've got enough, but that you haven't got too much, is a little finger test that we do. So if you touch the liquid white when you're finished, and you obviously you'll see a fingerprint. Now, get that in there, nice and even, everywhere. You don't want too much in one spot, so that's why I spread it around like this. Get a few lumps now and again, stuff like that. Just all part of it. You learn to live with it, hair's coming off your brush. It all happens. It's just, you learn to deal with it. You still enjoy it. It's all about enjoyment, this painting. So, as I always say, don't stress, just get on with it. It's like here, nice and casual, steady away. If you rush, you'll end up with too much on. You actually want to come over that slightly, just where we want the sky to be. Actually get a tiny bit more, just in there. Actually really work it into the canvas well, because these preparation things that you do really pay dividend later on in the painting. See, I'm grabbing paint up there where there's too much and just blocking it in where I need it. And it's a good place to practice the blending, the little X's, tiny X's, and then longer X's. You'll keep hearing me talking about this because for skies, beautiful skies, it's very important in wet on wet. I'm just going to go right over them bushes that were there, you know, the subtle bushes with liquid white. Again, it's really important that you've got this on everywhere. You can actually look on an angle and you'll see, you'll be able to tell whether you've got a little bit too much, not enough. If you've got too much, you can just get a paper towel and wipe off the excess, especially with the liquid clear. If you get too much liquid clear on it, it's a real problem. So you can wipe it with a paper towel and that'll stop any problems. Bit in there, probably cover right over that. See, we can allow some of this, which is in the liquid white, to show through behind, and it sometimes looks nice. It looks like you've put little details in there without doing nothing. Try it easy, find easy ways to create these effects. So there we go, got the liquid white in now. Now the test that I was talking about is a little finger test. Now if I touch, you can see, if Stuart zooms in, I've got a little fingerprint. Now if you actually have too much on there, what happens is you lose your fingerprint like so. So that means you've got too much on then. So that's a good way to test whether you've got enough or you've got too much. So put them to one side. Now, like I said, this is going to be a simple silhouette painting, is this. So we're going to have some lovely colours, really bright, but very simple. You know, for the way it looks in the end, you'd be surprised how simple this is. Now, let me just run through the colours that we're going to use today. We're going to use Midnight Black, Phthalo Blue, Prussian Blue, Alizarin Crimson, Lemon Yellow, Yellow Ochre and Indian Yellow, and then just some Titanium White as well. Now, to start off with, I'm just going to use a little 1-inch brush. Tap out, make sure there's no hairs in it, and I'm just going to actually tap and touch into a little bit of this yellow, and then with that I'm just going to touch a bit of that yellow in there, just along where I believe I'm going to have the horizon. Now what happens is it'll mix with the liquid white, so that's exactly what I'm wanting. Back there, you have a little bit of it showing as well, just behind that tree. And then if you work your way along and you can see a bit of it through there as well. Now it's mixing with the liquid white, you'll notice it's washing it out. It's not quite as yellow, and that's just what we're after. Nice. Now I'm going to have a lovely peachy colour, or a lovely orange, should I say, in the sky. I'm just going to use Alizarin Crimson, and then I'm going to use Indian Yellow, just to make a lovely orange. maybe a little bit of lemon yellow as well. That's a bright yellow, is lemon. So crimson, yellows, makes a lovely, lovely orange colour. Something about like that is what I'm after. Just give that a try. Now, just over here I want to indicate, I have to get a bit more crimson to that. See how I test it first, just to make sure that it's right. I need quite a bit more crimson to get the orange that I'm after. It's more like it. Now, just imagine there's a load of clouds that are getting hit by this lovely orange colour, this light. It's just everywhere. You put it in first, I'm using the brush sideways, just like so. And then, I don't want to worry about above for just now. I'm just going to let that wash out a bit with the liquid white. There. Everything there. At the moment you'll see little lines and stuff in there, but don't worry about that because we'll blend that out with the liquid white. There. Now I'm just looking at how I want some little clouds on the horizon. So just in there, I'll stick some of this lovely orange colour. What I'm going to do as well, I'm going to just get a little bit of cadmium red. So add that to your list of colours. I'm going to put a bit of that cadmium red. Cadmium red's very bright. Now I wanted this to have a nice bright orange, but I didn't want it to be too bright, so by doing this, using the crimson like I did, and going over the top with this orange, that's exactly the orange I was after. There, that's it. Now, at the moment I'm just applying colour basically. I'm not even worried or concerned about it. I'm going to blend it out a lot from what it is. There. Little stringy clouds that are just on the horizon there. Once we actually come back with a clean brush, we can blend all this out. It'll really work well. Now that same orange, just want to work up into here a bit, choosing little circles. Give it a little top to the cloud. This paint is more or less all about the clouds in the sky. Now up here, see how loose I'm being and how rough I'm being, and I know I'm going to come back afterwards and blend it all out with a clean brush. Just little circles I'm using there, just fluff it up. On the bottom I want it flattish. There. Now we'll get a bit of that orange and follow that through. I don't imagine that that tree's not even there when you're doing this stage. Imagine you can't even see it. That's looking good. Now, at this stage, I want to get another clean brush. I'm going to use alizarin crimson, midnight black together. And it makes a kind of mauve. You can put a tiny bit of phthalo blue with that, but the slightest amount. Don't want a lot. Let's just have a check of what that looks like. A bit of white added to it. That's nice. Maybe a smidgen more crimson. See, it's just balancing it out. It's like a proper balancing act is this, but a lovely mauve colour, aubergine. And then you can even get a bit more white, so it's not quite so dark with that. So we'll start off with the darker colour here, and then I can use that lighter colour as we go down. So just up in the top corners I want to use them little crisscross strokes. Just there like so. Just let that blend itself down, and all that time it's going to mix with the liquid white that you've got on the canvas. And it's get lighter and lighter as you come down. Any little lines you get and stuff like that, you can just blend them out. As long as you start at that top edge and then gradually work your way down, it will mix with that liquid white and get lighter in tone and in value. There. We might if it looks messy at the moment, because we're going to come back and blend it or make it soft and smooth and silk. Proper smooth like silk is this when it's finished. Now I'll keep this quite bright in here, so I'm not using as much pressure. I'm being very gentle on the blending now. And what that does, it stops as much paint coming off. I've got a little bit too much there, but it's not a problem, because I'll show you now. This stage I'm just going to use a clean brush, and I'm just going to come up there and just blend that. Start at the lowest point, just in there. Try not to pick up that orange too much. So I like to get a little tiny bit of it, but you get too much up in this area, it's not good. Just blend that out. See now it's really starting to blend nicely. So it's going from light to dark. Just in there, could maybe there. Not just using them little X's, tiny little crisscross strokes. Now that's blending lovely, you see. Right to a lovely stage now. Now I just want to be a tiny little bit cheeky and just get a little bit of blue. Same colour. So it's got a bit more of a blue hue to it, but it's still the same old colour. Just with a tiny bit more blue in than I had before. Now that is for this top edge. Just want to come into these corners with this bluey colour and just add a bit of that blue hue to the top part, as though there's still a bit of sky up there. It happens all the time like so. Blend that out. You can actually come back to a clean brush and just, I like to just go over that softly. There. That's nice. Now I'm back to my brush with the oranges on. I'm just going to put a few little clouds just up in here with that orange. Turn the brush and you get a fresh load of paint. I'm just applying colour at the moment, I'm not too worried about the form and shape. Maybe I'll have that one just come into there, and maybe there's going to be another little cloud up there. And then we'll do the same thing I did before. I want them level at the bottom, so I'll just gently blend underneath, and then little circles just for the tops. I'm going to fluff that out. Use a little filbert brush and get some of the yellow on the filbert. Straight lemon yellow. Now, just up on the top edge of this cloud, want to indicate a little bit of this yellow. We'll come back and blend this afterwards as well. So a bit of this light from down here is just sitting on there, playing, dancing, sitting on the bottom. Just a little glow all the way around it. You don't want to overdo it, but all the way underneath there is going to be a little hue of that yellow. Nice, I like that. And then, like I say, just on the top edge as well, just want the hue of that yellow. Just in there. Now these are getting a bit further away, these clouds. So maybe we'll just see a little bit of that yellow just on the underside, the bottom of the cloud. I love this, doing these sunset scenes, they're really fun. It's a lot of fun to do.